What is going on, everyone? It has been a very long time since I've done one of these videos, and my apologies first off, because my goal is to always provide timely responses to your questions, and I have probably fell off the radar for about 3 months of messages. I'm 3 months behind on messages. I've just been really busy. Holidays, work, school, and just other obligations. First off, my apologies on that. I have a lot of questions that I'm going to try to get through, and I'm going to make a couple more of these videos to respond to them and try to make these more frequent so I can share some of these questions and answers with everyone so it helps everyone at once versus responding to each and individual message, which I'll also try to do as well. All right, so I'm just going to get right down to it. I have a variety of messages. I've been combing through them today to group them. They're all different, so I'm gonna try to create these videos and make them related, if that makes any sense. Today's video is gonna be some of the pharmacy and informatics questions. There's a lot of other questions that came in about my MPH program, came in about just EPIC specifically, or I can't remember all the other ones, but today's is gonna be about pharmacy and informatics, so hope you enjoy. All right, so let's jump right into it. I have the questions here on my phone. The first question is from Sumi. She says, "Hi Brian, I was looking into getting some additional information about volunteer work through ASHP SOPIT for informatics, and they have this message. The appointment process opens every year in November. Please check back for more information about volunteering. It also lists the names of volunteers for different selection advisory groups, I believe. Does it mean the 2018-2019 selection is over?" So that's a great question. I wasn't aware of any volunteering. Actually, let me take a step back. I'm not sure what that list might be because it's saying it started in November for volunteering. So I'm not sure what that is referencing per se. I know I've talked about volunteering with the ASHP SOPIT SAGs. And for those of you who don't know those acronyms, SOPIT is the section of Pharmacy, Informatics, and Technology. SAGs are section advisory groups. So you can look up more information about the different SAGs in ASHP. And what I've talked about in the past is, get involved with informatics, network with other informatics individuals. And a great way to do that is by joining these SAGs, because you meet people, you do work on a national level, sometimes international, and you put out content. So it's really great on your resume. It's great for networking, all that kind of stuff. In this case, to your question, they typically open in the beginning of the year sometime. And they typically end in April. I can't remember if it was the beginning of April or the end of April of that same year. So it's like a couple month time frame in which you can apply for these and see if you get accepted. So I do know that the SOPIT SAG, the appointments for those, opens in February of this year for the next cycle. So for the 2018 to 2019 cycle, it opens in February. I'm not sure the specific date, but sometime in February it will open. Just keep checking that website. Just type in SOPIT SAG. You should be able to find a link to the application somewhere. And if I find it, I'll post a link to in the description below. But when it opens, it's just like a long survey that asks you what SAG are you interested in specifically, your experiences, your background, why you want to join, all those kind of general questions. Just fill that out. And so it opens in February and it closes in April sometime. So you are not too late. It is coming up. And so the deadline is not passed. Okay, next question is Joshi Hillary. Joshi says, "Hey Brian, I love your videos on YouTube. What are some certifications that pharmacy students can get while in pharmacy school to get more skill-oriented certified for pharmacy informatics?" Okay, so certifications that pharmacy students can get. The first thing I'll say is pharmacy informatics, and I've said this in other videos, but I'll always reiterate it. Pharmacy informatics is a specialization in pharmacy. First and foremost, we're pharmacists. So the first thing I always suggest is make sure you are clinically competent or competent as a pharmacist first off before spending time in other things. Which, because you're reaching out, you know, you're probably already a great student and you're already on top of your things. But just always keep that in mind. We are pharmacists first. We want to make sure we're clinical or competent as a pharmacist first before dabbling in other things. So with that preface, certifications. There's a lot of different certifications. I've talked about certifications in the past, and there are many I probably don't even know about. There's just so many out there. And so the first thing I'll say as a student is HIMSS offers a CA HIMSS certification and a CP HIMSS certification. CA HIMSS are like those individuals who are interested in informatics, don't really have a... Siri was just talking, by the way. CA HIMSS is the pathway for those who are interested in informatics, who are new to it, and you can just basically do that certification and gain some of the core competencies of informatics. It's a great way to get in, great certification for students. If you do happen to have some informatics experience, which some students do, then CP HIMSS, I believe that's like 3 years plus of experience, you can go down that route. Why I always bring this certification up, or these two certifications up, is because my anecdotal personal experience is that I think it's the most widely recognized certification out there. Most of my informatics colleagues all have either of these certifications. So it's very widely recognized. And so if you're talking from an employment opportunity, it's a great thing to go for. And it's also great knowledge base. Granted, I have not taken the exam. I do not know whether it will benefit me at all. It probably will. Any new knowledge is always beneficial in my opinion. But yeah, so that's one thing you can pursue. CA HIMSS for from HIMSS. That's one certification you can get. Another one that I've thought about or talked about is the ASHP Informatics certificate. I don't recall if you can do it as a pharmacy student. I think you can. The downside of that is probably, I think a lot of the things that are probably talked about in there are more geared towards your pharmacist. The further along you are in your pharmacy career or your pharmacy didactic training, the easier it would be to internalize. You know, a lot of terminology in there is beyond just typical pharmacy stuff. So that's one. And another downside, one of the downsides would be that you don't get CE credit for it because you're a pharmacy student. So that's not great, and it could be quite expensive. I believe it's like $300, and that might just be the member price. Might be more expensive for non-members, but it's something you can look at as well. In terms of other certifications, there are other great things that will help you as you go towards an informatics path. One of the key things is project management. So there is various certifications within project management. The main one I know about is PMP. You can just Google different certifications. You can probably just Google that one and find the other ones that are offered. PMP is the main one. It's, you know, it kind of depends. And I probably should have started off by saying this first. The certifications you can get as a student is probably many. The certifications you probably should get probably depends on what you're interested in, and what path you see yourself going down towards. And in that case, you know, you probably don't know what path you're going down. And what I would say then is find a certification that is kind of overall breadth of the different areas in pharmacy, informatics, and the ones I just talked about earlier is probably the two that I think about usually, which is the two certifications from HIMSS, CA HIMSS and CP HIMSS, and then the ASHP Informatics certificate. I think those are probably pretty comprehensive for the most part. So certifications, so these other ones are more like ad hoc, where it just kind of depends. What I just talked about in terms of project management, projects are huge in our community. It's really important to have those skill sets. So any type of project management experience is certainly a positive in the informatics world. So PMP is something to consider. There's the AIIC or AHIC. They changed it. I believe the latest rendition is AHIC by AMIA, and theirs is more of a clinically focused informatics certification. They've been talking about it for years. I've been holding out for that certification. They have not released it. It probably will be another couple years before it's released, but I'm more in the clinical side of things, so that's the one I'm holding out for. All right, so my camera died. Let's see. I can't remember what I was talking about. So certifications overall. We talked about CAM, CPHIMS, ASHP Informatics Certificate, AMIA, PMP. There's also another group of certifications that I'm not very familiar with, but I do see some individuals have them, and these are your health IT certifications. I don't know if you can do this as a pharmacy student. I think you can, but I'll post more information on the description below. There's all different flavors of this. There's like certified in electronic health records, certified in health information technology, and then there's like 2 or 3 others. But I'll post more information on the links below. I have a couple of colleagues that do have these. I'm not very familiar with them, but do check them out if you're interested. And then in terms of like other non-certifications, but great skills that I might suggest having are, if you're interested, is more the reporting side. And I do think the future of informatics, not just pharmacy informatics, is headed down this route. It may be a good idea to look into some of the technical skills, such as SQL, which is really, really beneficial in many cases, especially if you're doing reporting, Tableau for data visualization, having R and Python as programming skills. You can do a lot of things within informatics with that, but it's kind of niche in that sense. So the impact on getting the impact of having that might not be as beneficial as some of the other ones. But if you're looking for a role that needs those two, those are huge skills and great assets to have. So those are some of the things you can look into. If you find it interesting, they could be very beneficial. Certainly employers do look at that. So definitely check some of those out and see which ones interest you the most. All right, and then I have another question here from John. He says, I'm a 4th year pharmacy student at OSU/OHSU in Oregon. I am very passionate about pharmacy informatics and am hoping to obtain a position as an informaticist in the near future. Currently, I'm applying to residency programs with an informatics PGY2. Thus far, I haven't had any luck with interview invites. I'm trying my best to be optimistic, but I most likely will be starting my pharmacy career in the outpatient setting. I was hoping to gain advice on what steps I should take if residency doesn't work out. One option I was thinking was getting my master's in health informatics. Do you think this will make me a more competitive applicant for jobs? Well, there's a lot of questions on here. What programs or associations should I get involved with to boost my CV and knowledge of informatics? Are there certifications out there like a new grad like me can obtain? And I appreciate your time. I'm a big fan of your YouTube channel. Keep up the great work. So first of all, thanks for supporting the channel, watching the channel, and yeah, it's subscribers like you that make me motivated and keep doing these kind of videos. So thanks for watching. Secondly, there's quite a few questions in here. I do hope you get some interview invites. It is a pretty rough market out there. Again, just the statistics alone, 2/3 of applicants match. So there's a great amount out there that don't, and it's just not enough spots. That's what it is. But I do hope you get some interviews, and best of luck as you enter and really begin this residency process, because the invites are going out this month and next month. Okay, so advice. First question was about if you should get your master's in health informatics. Do you think it will make you more competitive for jobs? So the simple answer is yes. Well, the simple answer to whether or not it'll make you more competitive is yes. Whether or not you should get it it depends. Certainly it'll always help. I'm not going to deny that. But there are a lot of considerations with getting it. It's similar to like a residency where it's a time commitment, there's financial considerations, and you know, how much more opportunity would you gain from getting that versus not. So I have a lot of students that have asked this in the past, especially those who found themselves going down the residency path, not matching, and then asking if masters would be helpful. I usually say no. And there's a couple of reasons why. The first reason is because I think there's an overinflation of degrees in America. For whatever reason, when we find, you know, certain paths not working out, a lot of us in America retreat and pursue more educational opportunities. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. This is just what I've noticed and what others have said. It's not a bad thing, but I think that there's a lot of opportunity costs that you'll lose with that. And especially because you just came out of a doctorate of pharmacy degree. You have a great degree. You know, I don't think that you need to add that much more to it in light of other options. So what I mean by those other options, and options that I think you should pursue, is just trying to spend your time finding that job, looking for jobs, networking with individuals, and applying to those jobs. You know, that itself takes a lot of effort, and I think you should try to focus on that a bit before considering this master's in health informatics. Certainly something you can consider, but focus more of your time, the majority of your time, on looking for a job, networking with people to see if you can get a job first before going down the master's route. And the last couple of students that I've talked to did this route and ended up, you know, not doing a master's, not doing residency, and having great jobs that they ended up getting sometimes a couple months later after graduating, but they love what they're doing. So I think that, you know, just pursuing additional education opportunities is great, but certainly look at other avenues as well, such as applying to jobs and getting a job. It's kind of ironic that I'm saying this because I'm pursuing a master's myself, but that's another story. So in that case, it kind of depends. I hope that was helpful. Your next question is, what programs or associations should I get involved with to boost my CV and knowledge of informatics? So this certainly, I would say, goes in line with networking and boosting your opportunities without severely limiting your opportunity costs. There's 3 organizations I typically think of when students are interested in informatics, especially in pharmacy informatics. One is ASHP, you know, because ASHP is the main group for health system pharmacists. They have a large cohort or network of informatics pharmacists, and you know, it's more focused on pharmacy informatics. So ASHP has a lot of opportunities. Check out their website, talk to folks who are in or involved with ASHP and informatics. Look up ASHP SOPIT, which is the section of pharmacy informatics and technology. You can find a lot of contacts for folks who are in this space. Get involved with that organization, get involved with those activities, and that'll certainly help boost your CV and knowledge of informatics. Secondly is AMIA, so that's the American Medical Informatics Association. That is more medicine focused and more academic research focused, but there is a lot of great information out there, more so from the research academic side, and I think you would find some benefit there. It does get a little technical at times, a lot of theory and stuff, but it's a great organization to be a part of. There's a lot of great work groups, a lot of great informaticists, like truly pushing us toward the next phase of informatics out there. So check out AMIA. There's a lot of opportunities, a lot of great people in there. And the last one is HIMSS. HIMSS is, I can't remember what it stands for, but you know, it's the general health informatics community. So it's not specifically related to either pharmacy or medicine, but it's just overall comprehensive, very broad. It's a great organization, a lot of technical skills in that area, a lot of project management, a lot of integration, things like that. So, but it's a great opportunity to be a part of those organizations. Check them out. I think from my own personal experience and talking with colleagues that a lot of folks find it a little too broad in that sense and a little too technical. especially for those of us who are more in clinical informatics. But it's an organization to look into. But I'll probably start off with ASHP, then AMIA, then HIMSS. Next question is, are there certifications out there that a new grad like me can obtain? I kind of talked about it in the previous question. CA HIMSS or CP HIMSS would be great. Definitely check that out. ASHP Informatics certificate. That's great. Project management, and then your health IT certifications. So pretty much all the certifications I talked about in the prior or previous question, those are great certifications to check out. And similar with the skills too. So SQL, R, Python, Tableau, those kind of skills would be great, especially if you're looking for more of a reporting and data analytics type role. Okay, last question here from Jiyoung. Hope I pronounced that right. Jiyoung says, hi Brian, first of all, thanks so much for your help and detailed reply. Oh, so I think this was a chain back and forth. I've been talking to you for a little bit. Brian, I wanted to check with you on one thing. I went to the local residency showcase last week in Houston, Texas, and found out that some of the very small hospitals in the rural area also offered a residency program. They had like 2 residents in their program. My question is, does it matter a lot which hospital we do the residency at? Or as long as you do a residency, regardless of the size and location of the hospital, that's all that matters? It seems like their programs were easier to get in, so I wanted to ask your honest opinion on this. It's a great question. Very great question. I touched on this in multiple videos in the past, actually. I think it was probably about residency rank and something like that. But I have a lot of mixed feelings on this, and I don't have a definitive answer for you. But let's see. Does it matter which hospital we do residency at? My answer to most things is it depends, and it's the same case here. Does it matter? It depends, because I don't think it necessarily does. I always feel that regardless of the name or brand or prestige or size or location, a lot of it has to do with you. And in terms of how much effort you put into that residency, how much you invest into it. So what you're asking about specifically is small rural programs. So if you're at a program that's small and rural, one of the things that you might lose out on is more experience, more breadth in certain scenarios. So a large academic medical center or a large hospital overall, you might see things like trauma. You might have more ICU experience or specialized ICU, oncology, like very unique specialized patient populations that you might not get in a small rural hospital. So you might lose out on some of that. But going back to my first point, it really depends on you, is because you can make some of those things happen. So if you're at a small rural hospital, you can negotiate with the director and ask, are there opportunities to do a rotation at a nearby large hospital? And those are some of the things I asked about. You know, one of the hospitals that I was interested in didn't have an infectious disease or an informatics rotation. So I asked, can I do it at a nearby hospital? I don't think it really panned out, because a lot of it comes to you, where you have to really initiate and put in the work to make these things happen, because they don't exist. I will give you an example though. On my PGY2 Informatics rotation, I didn't have a reporting rotation. You know, I really was interested in reporting and I wanted to have that experience. So what I did is I pioneered the first reporting rotation at my residency. You know, there are a lot of time spent into like coordination and administrative duties in terms of getting that set up, but I got a great experience out of it. I got to dabble a little bit more in some of the reports that I wanted to work on and that kind of stuff. So it really depends on you. And then the other thing I'll say is it also depends, because it's that next step, that employer or that director who's evaluating you. There's always bias. That's never going to go away. Where someone who's evaluating you for either a PGY1, PGY2 fellowship or a job might say, hey, I have 2 candidates here. One went to this great reputable program and one went to this small rural hospital. They might say this person had more experience. You know, they know that those folks coming out from there had this minimum competency that they're going to come out with. I want to choose them, you know, over that rural hospital. But that's not always the case again. It depends on you. Sometimes if you did very well in your hospital, your residency experience, your name's going to get out there. People are going to know about you. Word of mouth goes a long way. So in those cases, It could depend on that person who's hiring you. They're maybe more likely to choose the individual that did a residency at a very reputable large hospital. But maybe they heard from that your preceptors or your director at your small rural hospital, and they put in a really good word with you. They said you really are a great, strong worker, great work ethic, all of this, and you get the job. So it's really hard to discern in that case. But for the most part, my personal bias is that I think it doesn't matter. I think it depends on you. You put in effort, you do the work, that will take you farther than any branded large hospital you can go to. And that's, again, my personal biased opinion. And then you said, or as long as you do a residency regardless of the size and location of the hospital, that's all that matters. So I will say one thing, I didn't match for my PGY1. I had to scramble for my position, and I did have a little stint in which I had to apply for jobs because I needed jobs after graduating. And so I spent time, doing applications, talking to people, trying to network, trying to get a job because I didn't match into residency, while also doing the scramble to get a residency. In that period of time, I felt completely hopeless. And this is in 2013, because I felt as though I wasn't given any attention in my job applications because I didn't have a residency. Obviously, there are many other factors that could have driven that. Just applying online is quite difficult overall, regardless of whether or not you have a residency or not. But I felt as though I struggled a lot without having a residency. And then after I got into my PGY1, during my PGY1 and after graduating from my PGY1, I felt as though the opportunities just blew up. Where recruiters reached out to me, different employers reached out to me, like opportunities were a lot more relative to no residency. So what I'm trying to say to your point here is that, let me go back to your question. Or as long as you do a residency, regardless of the size and location, that's all that matters. And in this scenario, that is all that matters. The fact that I have a PGY1, in my own personal N=1 experience, that mattered. The fact that I had a residency gave me a lot of leg room to basically open up the doors for many different opportunities. So kind of depends. I guess to summarize both of these points, one, I think a residency is a great business decision. Definitely go for it if you have the time, the resources, the opportunity cost. Great. Do it. I think it's a great investment. Where you do it, I don't think it matters as much because it's just on you. I think that was the last program. Yep, that was the last question. All right, guys. So I hope some of these helped. I'll have a couple more videos on your questions, and I hope to get to all of them in due time. Please do keep reaching out to me when you can. I really enjoy reading your comments, and I'll do my best to continue to read them, respond to them, and hopefully do more of these videos so everyone can benefit from your questions. All right, guys, until next time. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in and watching the video. If you like the content, definitely hit the ImproRx button over to your left to subscribe, and definitely check out more videos over here to your right. Now, as always, if you have questions, comments, and even better, suggestions for future videos, definitely let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, until next time, guys.